Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm sure if you clicked on the title of this video, you're a little bit confused as to what this is going to be. Well, we're going to be playing a little bit of a game. I was racking my brain recently on ways to cut down on the books on my TBR and also ways to make that interesting to watch. And it came to me on a midnight clear. I decided that I wanted to do a choose your own adventure reading vlog. What does this look like, you may ask? Well, that is a great question. Essentially, what I'm going to be doing in this video is reading 2 books to the 50% mark, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo and Suddenly You by Lisa Kleypas, and after I read 50% of each of those books and vlog my experience, I'm gonna let you guys pick which book you want to hear more about and which book you think is going to be my favorite. You need to factor both of those things in when you select which one you want to keep hearing about. And at the end of the video, there's going to be 2 other videos for you to watch. You can either pick the other half of me talking about Shadow and Bone, or you can listen to me talk more about Suddenly You. Whichever one you want to listen to, whichever one you think I'm going to prefer more, and that's kind of where the game aspect comes in. So you're going to select the one that you think I'm going to prefer more, and if you guess correctly at the end of that vlog, it's going to lead you to 2 other vlogs, 2 other options, 2 other books for me to talk about. For this little experiment, I have read 10 books of varying genres, of varying lengths, all starting with the letter S. I like a little bit of cohesion in my videos. So that's what we're going to be doing. So yes, essentially, you get to pick what I read. You get to pick what you think I'm going to like. And if you keep guessing correctly, you're going to be led to more videos and more videos and more videos. If you guess incorrectly, there will be no video waiting for you at the end of the video you choose, and you're going to have to click the back button if you want to keep playing. I know this sounds a little bit confusing. I'm sure I didn't do a great job at explaining, but it is super easy once you get to the end of this video. You're gonna understand once you get there. But I'm super excited for this. I don't think I've seen anyone on BookTube do this before. If you have seen someone do something like this, let me know in the comments down below so I can give them the proper credit. But to my knowledge, this is an original idea, and I'm really excited to share this with you. I had a really fun time experimenting. I'm filming this after I've read all of the books. I'm just super excited to share this experiment with you guys, and I would love it if when you are done watching all of the videos and playing this game, if you would come back to this video and let me know, 1, if you enjoyed playing, 2, if you were able to guess all of my favorites correctly without having to click any back buttons, and 3, if you would like me to do this again, obviously. Whether or not you want me to do another letter of the alphabet, if you want me to do like 1 color of book covers for the next one, let me know. I'd love to do this experiment again because, like I said, this was so fun to film. This is definitely like the wildest thing that I've ever done on my channel. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the reading vlog portion of this video. I love you guys so much. Let's just get right into it. So I decided to start with Suddenly You. I know we're all shocked that I decided to pick up the romance first, but I'm only a chapter in and wow. Okay, this is a romance, a historical romance, and this woman, I think she's like bookish, and I think she might be 30 or so, which is like crazy in historical England to not, you know, be married by 30, but she's really bookish, whatever. That's all I know from the fucking synopsis, and she is going to hire a male escort, male sex worker. I'm not sure what like the ye olden days fucking term for it was, but anyway, she's gonna hire a man to take her virginity, I think is the gist, and she goes to like a brothel, I guess, to like hire a gentleman, and I don't know how she lands upon this guy, but she like tugs him into her room or something, and she says something about him like not being that bright, and that's probably why he's in this profession. And I was just like, I can't say that, and that's just incorrect. I don't know. What I'm thinking is probably the case is that this guy is actually not a male escort, male sex worker. I think it's probably just some random dude who's like, yeah, sure, like, I'll fuck you. That's my guess. I don't know much. This was like the first 10 seconds of this book. I'm in the audiobook, but I just had to tell you that because not off to a great start. Okay, so our main character, Amanda, had her first interaction with Jack, and as I had suspected, Jack is not actually a male escort. I mean, you're not told outright, but you definitely pick up on that vibe from the beginning, and things got a lot better. I liked the interactions between both Amanda and Jack. I was kind of unsure of how to feel because like she's kind of naive and a virgin, but she's also seeking out to lose her virginity, but she just the whole parts of the interaction I was like, I don't know, like, is this right? Because he, I think, can tell what situation he's gotten himself into. Like, I think he knows that she thinks he is a male escort, but he is obviously not, and like he's kind of taking advantage of the fact. So it's like, I don't know, it could be kind of questionable like morally, but I liked their interaction. He didn't like deflower her. I really don't like the language around virginity, but they ended up just like having some heavy petting, if you will, and it was cute, and I actually thought it was like nice. And I also appreciate the fact that Amanda has a career in this book, which I think is really cool. Both of her parents are dead. She inherited some money so she can like live on her own, and she seems to be kind of a Jane Austen type. Like, she writes stories about real people who have real problems, and just like the way that the stories are kind of described, it gives me very Jane Austen, like Pride and Prejudice vibes. So I think that's really cool. And Jack apparently is a reader of her stories and told her so, which I think is kind of cute. So hopefully that'll kind of like play into the story more. But curious to see where things go. This is giving me big Kiss Quotient vibes by Helen Hoang. I think it's cool that this is like a historical like spin on that, I guess. I say spin, I mean that book was written after this one, but I haven't read very many stories like this, and I like it. It's empowered. I like that it kind of takes like a female empowerment stance, especially I think it's cool in this book, since it is a historical romance, to have a female main character like okay with not being virtuous or whatever, but I guess she has that luxury, like I said, since she has the inheritance from her family and she like works for herself, she doesn't really need to rely on a man. Not too bad, not too shabby. I'm not gonna take back the things I said at the beginning when I started reading, but things have definitely started getting better. So curious to see how I'm gonna feel at the halfway point, but thus far, like, it's pretty cute and I'm curious to see where things go. Okay, so I am 50% into Suddenly You by Lisa Kleypas, which is like our ending point for now, which is so weird because I feel like even though I'm halfway done with the book, I don't know if this is going to be the one that I want to continue on with. I mean, I'm continuing on with both of the books, but I just don't know like if this is going to be the one, you know, or if it's going to be Shadow and Bone, like which one I'm going to prefer more. But anyway, we do find out the identity of Jack. I'm going to put a spoiler warning right here, I guess, if you intend on reading this book. I'm assuming no one's going to read this book for themselves, but if you do, proceed with caution. So essentially, Jack is the publisher of a lot of stories in England. He is this kind of up-and-coming guy, very successful businessman, and he is one of the guys who has been doing serial publishing, kind of, I think Charles Dickens, you know, like paid by the word type of things. And he's trying to get our heroine to start doing the same thing. He intends to publish a work of hers that she wrote a long time ago that never sold, and do it in a serial way. So I like that he's a businessman. I like that that's a big part of the story. But how do I say this in a polite way? I prefer a more traditional historical romance. Like, I like feminist elements, don't get me wrong, I really do. But I do just really like a woman looking for the man to spend the rest of her life with, and I know that that's like very heteronormative of me and like whatever, but like that's what I want in my life, so that's what I like to read about in my romance. Romance is like wish fulfillment, etc. So this story, it's feminist in a very particular way. I like that neither of the characters like want children or really want marriage. I think that's really cool. Like, they don't see a purpose of it, a purpose for it, because you know, they have money, and that's like the whole reason that people get married, is like to have money or power, and they both already have that, so they don't need to get married. So I think that's a really cool element. For me, it just makes the romance like low stakes, not low stakes, but it just, I don't know, it doesn't seem as romantic to me, which I know is silly, and I know that's like just something that's inside of me, but for me, I just don't know that I love it. It seems very impersonal, and like they just want to fuck, and they're like friends who fuck. I don't know, there's not that like romantic, I want to spend the rest of my life with you component to it, and I know that that's probably going to come later, whether or not they get married or not. I know that their relationship's different than a lot that I've read in historical romance. So like, if that's your sort of thing, I think this could be a good story for you. I think it's well told. I think the pacing is pretty great, but I just don't know that it's a romance that personally connects with me, which is really important when you're reading a romance. Like, are these characters you can relate to and kind of see yourself in some capacity? And like I said, I like Amanda. I think she's super independent and cool. I love that she has a job. I like Jack. He's very respectful, and the way that he kind of came clean to our heroine, I appreciated as well. But I don't know, I just don't know that I love like the actual romance component to it. Granted, I'm only 50% in. I think that maybe the next 50% is going to kind of be setting up that relationship. They're both telling their friends and like respective, you know, parties or whatever, like, oh, like I really like her and all this stuff, but I just, you know, I don't have this utility for marriage or whatever. Like, they're both kind of denying feelings. So I'm assuming like we're gonna get into a more romantic territory in the next 50% of the book, but I don't know. I'm wondering if this is going to be a new favorite. It is very different than any historical I've read before, and despite some like questionable content when it comes to the talk of sex workers, it's a good book besides that. And I think this book was written in like the 90s or early 2000s or something. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not. So I can kind of forgive it for that. And it's hard with historical too. I know everybody kind of has their own opinion on what's acceptable. Like if you should write to the times. I personally think you can write a historical romance that is historically accurate. And this one definitely is, you know, historically accurate, but you know, are you able to forgive some of the slightly more modern issues that can arise, like the Bridgerton novel I read a couple of months ago? It was clearly more feminist than stuff like in historical times, but at the same time there were some like issues that in 2020 are kind of a problem. And I just looked it up. This book was written in 2006, so I can understand why the kind of language around sex workers is not necessarily as sophisticated as we would use in 2020, but it's not like glaringly bad or anything. I've definitely seen worse, but just something to kind of be aware of, something that did like definitely stand out to me. So anyway, all of that to say, I really thought that this was going to be like the standout book between the two of these, and that it would be super easy for you guys to guess like which one's going to be my favorite and like which book you want to hear more about or whatever. But I like that it's going to be kind of more of a toss-up at this point. So now it is time to start in on Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I read this back when it came out, which I think was 2012, maybe 2013, and I enjoyed it. I fucking loved The Darkling, that's all I can remember. And I remember I did try to start Siege and Storm when it came out, and I didn't really enjoy it and I didn't finish it. So I have not finished the entire Grisha trilogy. I've actually only ever read this book and Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, but I think I want to read her backlist. Like that's something that's on my to-do list for the foreseeable future. I want to read the Grisha trilogy. I want to maybe read Crooked Kingdom, and I'm reading Ninth House for a taste test. So like I will have read a lot of Leigh Bardugo books this year, so that'll be fun. But anyway, first thing we got to start with is the OG, Shadow and Bone. I'm just ready for all the Larkling fucking feels. Honestly, it's a tragedy they didn't end up together, and I hope that the Netflix show decides to remedy that. So anyway, I'm gonna get reading. I'll let you guys know how I feel, because objectively it's not the best, but like sort of here for it. I look like a fucking turtle. Anyway, I am 2 chapters into this, and can I just say for the record that this is so much better than Wicked Saints. I guess they start in a similar way in that there's this sort of like momentous opening scene and or like battle at the very beginning, but Shadow and Bone seems so much more high stakes. It has the dark tone that Wicked Saints I think is going for, but Shadow and Bone just like is that bitch. Like she did that, she went there. Leigh Bardugo, like she paved the way for these other bitches, like I'm just saying. And on top of that, I am sort of forgetting like anything that I disliked about this book previously. I didn't dislike it when I first read it, so I guess that's not really that surprising. But do I think the Chosen One trope and like girl with magical powers thing is a little bit overdone, especially like magical powers she didn't know she had? Absolutely, of course, but like the world's inventive. It is opening with a bang. There's nothing terrible about the writing. Like there's just nothing to bitch about. Like this is just solid so far. The trilogy might be garbage because I haven't read the other books, but thus far I'm enjoying this. So I mean, I don't know why I'm defending this to you. Shit's pretty good. So I'm 120 pages in, and while Alina might still be one of the stupidest bitches alive, like I'm enjoying it still. Leigh Bardugo's a powerful ass bitch. All I'm saying. I also think, and I know that I probably shouldn't be making comparisons to Wicked Saints so often, but I just feel like since I just read that book, it's very top of mind for me. Something that I think Leigh Bardugo does a good job at is making the, I don't even want to say love interest, because it's hard to compare Malachias in Wicked Saints to the Darkling, but I think there are some similarities to be drawn. Your love interest shouldn't talk that much. Are men stupid? Should they shut up? I think the answer is yes, as is evidenced by this book. I think the allure of the Darkling is that he is mysterious and he is very commandeering and powerful, but not in an overpowering way. I feel like Malachias and Wicked Saints, like, he's a bit too much. I don't know, I feel like you have to strike the balance between, like, you know, being all powerful and shit and then being, like, douchey? I don't know. Malachias gives off douchebag vibes, Darkling gives off, like, who is this man? I want to know more vibes, so very much here for that. Nugget likes it too. Nugget, let us know. Who do you like better? The Darkling or Malachias? The Darkling? Yeah? He agrees. It's the Darkling all the way. So, shit. I don't really know. I'm not good at quick maths. Like, what is half of 350 pages? I don't really think I'm gonna get halfway done with this, to be honest, tonight. How about I read to page 150 and then we can choose. Then you guys can choose which book you want me to continue reading. I mean, like, I'm gonna read both, obviously. Like, that's how this works, but you get to pick which you think I'm going to enjoy more. Then we go on a fun adventure, so Okay, so I got to page 170, which is about halfway-ish. There's like bonus content in this book. I'm still enjoying it. It has slowed down quite a bit since the sort of like revelation that Alina has powers. I don't really want to put spoiler warnings for this book because I feel like if you haven't read this yet, you've had 7 years to do so. But I don't think any of what I'm going to say is a spoiler. Essentially, Alina figures out that she has the power of sun summoning, which is like the most unique power. There's no sun summoners out there. And she gets in leagues with the Darkling, or the Darkling discovers that she has powers, and now she is training to be Grisha. And that's kind of the boring part, I guess, of this book, the fact that Alina is having to kind of struggle with her powers and the fact that she cannot easily summon them. I feel like this happens with every Chosen One book. It's like, here's a magical ability that shows itself at random, and then it's a hard time trying to kind of summon that power again, and it only comes up, you know, or you're only ever to like summon the power whenever you really need it. So that's sort of what she's struggling with as she's in this like magical school setting. And there's been a little bit of like girl hate and court politics going on. Nothing super major, but I like it. I kind of like the simplicity of this plot compared to a lot of the other fantasy that I've read lately, especially for my reading your most disappointing books video, Wicked Saints. And then there's just, I don't know, there's just been other books that are fantasy that have unique magic systems that I feel like try to make things a little bit too convoluted and complicated in the execution of the plot. And I just feel like you can do less and still have an interesting book. You know, I think where this book shines is the interesting magic system and how tight the story is. I will say, even if Leigh Bardugo isn't my favorite author, because she's not by any means, she does such a good job at making a well-crafted story that doesn't drag too much in any one part. Like the middle of this book, even though it is sort of boring, I guess, because, you know, we're getting this training and she's not very good and like, it's enough to keep me interested. I want to see what happens. I'm waiting for her next encounter with the Darkling. So I don't know, I really thought that this was going to be easier. I really felt like both of these stories offer something compelling. I feel like both at this point are like 3.5, potentially 4-star reads, but I don't know which is going to be my favorite, and you guys have to now pick what you think my favorite book is going to be from these two, which is going to be higher rated. And if you choose correctly, you're going to get the rest of the vlog, and then you're going to be led to 2 more vlogs for 2 different books. So it's going to be a really good time. So without further ado, are you going to select Shadow and Bone, or are you going to select Suddenly You? Which do you think I'm going to prefer more? Which do you want to hear more about?